what were your thoughts on TJ Dillashaw versus Corey Sandhagen?
I thought it was a really good fight. I thought TJ looked really good coming off of his 2-year suspension from using EPO, right?
Yeah.
And like that was kind of like the story going in. It was going to be like, oh, how does he look now after his 2-year layoff? How does he look when he's not on steroids and stuff like that? And dude, he is really tough. Like, that was a close fight. TJ won it. A lot of people think Sandhagen won. I'm not mad either way. I think TJ took more damage throughout the fight, but like, oh my God, he can take a hit, man. Like, Sandhagen hit him with some crazy flying knees. He hit him with some huge punches. Like, did you see that cut on his eye after the fight?
Yeah,
too?
crazy.
Yeah.
I think, like, we forget about that too. Like when you haven't seen a guy fight in like 2 years, you forget just how freaking durable TJ Dillashaw is, man. Like that knee he got hit with in the first round, that's the knee that knocked out Frankie Edgar. Like one touch knocked him out. Like standing up, knockout.
Yeah.
And it didn't even, TJ was like, he wasn't even really wobbled by that. He was wobbled once and he got knocked down once in the fight, but he didn't, got hit so many times and like he's got a hell of a chin.
Yeah, crazy chin, man. I was super impressed. What do you think about the decision, though? Do you think TJ had the win, or did you think it should have gone the other way?
Let me just first say, I'm not upset at it. I'm not upset with the decision. I really think it could have gone either way. I can see both guys' bets. With that being said, I did have Sandhagen winning. I had Dillashaw taking the first round, Sandhagen taking the second round. The third round was really close. I was going back and forth on that. I had Dillashaw taking the third, Sandhagen taking the fourth, and then in the fifth round, I had Sandhagen winning the fight. So the reffing actually all three judges had different scores. So one of the judges scored it the same as me. Another judge scored it, so they had Dillashaw the first, Sandhagen the second, Dillashaw the third, Sandhagen the fourth, and then Dillashaw winning the fifth. And then another judge actually had they had that really close third round going to Dillashaw. So, and then also the fifth. So yeah, there's a lot of controversy with this fight, but I mean, I think we leave knowing both guys are they're killers, man, and both guys are going to be contenders for like definitely the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we'll probably see that fight. They'll probably see them fight again at some point. Maybe if Dillashaw wins the belt and Sandhagen wins another fight. Because, okay, so Dillashaw is fighting the winner of Piotr Jan versus Aljamain Sterling for the belt.
We can't say that for sure, but we were speculating before this podcast about it. And Dillashaw, obviously, he got cut over the eye. He had that knee injury during the fight. So he got hit a lot in the head. So he's got probably about a 6-month layoff. I think did he have to have surgery on the knee?
I think so, yeah.
So there's surgery on the knee. And then also you got to let the eyebrow heal up. So I think he's got about a 6-month layoff. And then we probably have Aljamain Sterling versus Piotr Jan in October. So, I mean, TJ's probably going to be back by like January, so I think it lines up pretty well, honestly.
The timing works out. Yeah. And I feel like, I can't remember exactly if Dana said that, but I'm pretty sure TJ's going back to a belt fight pretty much right away.
Do you think he deserves it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah. No, me too. I mean, he had the belt before. He never lost that belt. He lost his last fight, but he went down in a weight class, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he technically never lost that belt, so I think he definitely deserves to fight for it right away. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. And do you think that fight was like potentially a fight of the year candidate?
Could be in there. There's been so many good fights this year. I really can't say.
Yeah.
Maybe for that weight class. I don't know if they do it that way, but is it just out of all the fights, one of them wins fight of the year?
Out of all of them, yeah.
So. Honestly, yeah, that was a really good fight. Dillashaw, I thought, I don't know how he didn't get knocked out, and based off if you're gonna look at it based off who took more damage, Dillashaw definitely took more damage throughout the fight. I'm pretty sure corey was fine after, but based off just his takedowns and I guess the control time, that's ultimately what got him the win, and I think that makes sense.
No, like I said, I'm not mad at it. He had a lot of clinch control time. He had a lot of ground control time. And I mean, he looked really good in his striking as well. I thought he did look maybe a bit of a beat off with his timing. Just TJ in the past, his head movement is so phenomenal, and it looked good in that fight too. But I think 2-year layoff, I thought his head movement was a little bit off. But I mean, with that being said, like in the first round, he got his knee cranked like a mofo. So like. I think that knee was a little bit jacked up for the fight. His mobility was a little bit compromised. You wouldn't know it if you didn't see his knee get messed up in the first round and hear his corner. But I think his mobility was a little bit compromised after that.
Well, even like the cut on his eye, that's something that happened in training, right? And it was still like, it wasn't even like healed for a long time, and he said going into the fight, like it's been 2 years and he just wanted to fight so bad. Like he went into that fight with some injuries, and that's why that cut got opened up so badly. So I respect the hell out of him for that. I really like TJ.
What's weird about that though is, I don't know if you saw the pictures for his cut in training, but the cut was actually, it was like over the eye, it was along the eyebrow, and the cut during the fight was like down.
It was over and down.
Was it down as well?
Yeah, it was like a cross almost.
Like, yeah, and Cruz was talking about it during the fight too. Cruz or Bisping, I'm not sure, but like when it's down, the blood just flows directly into your eyeball, and it's going right into his eyeball, and he's like wiping it during the round. Yeah. So and he said after too, he's like, yeah, I couldn't even see out of that eye. So I mean, that's pretty impressive for him to have fought through that along with everything else.
Happened in like the second round.
Yeah.
And then he went on to win it by decision after the 5th round. So he's pretty much fighting the whole fight and like just with blood pouring into his eye. You could see him wiping it out the whole time.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. Like, that would suck so much.
No, really impressed with what we saw from TJ. Obviously, you get that. And honestly, really impressed with what we saw from Corey too. I mean, part of the narrative for me was like coming into this fight, Corey hasn't actually gone 5 rounds before, right? If you think about his last 2 fights, I mean, he had that crazy knee knockout on Frankie Edgar, and then he had that spinning kick knockout on Marlon Moraes, both in main events, but he hasn't actually gone the distance. So we know, going into this, we knew TJ could go the distance. He's that guy. He's super durable, and he's been there before in those big fights, but we didn't really know that for Corey. And I mean, he's such an explosive, fast fighter. Like, going in, I was honestly, I'm not going to say worried, but I was curious to see how he'd fare in those later rounds. And I mean, even against a guy like Dillashaw, he looked phenomenal, and there's a fair argument that he did win that fight. So, yeah, really impressed with both guys.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah. So what do you think is next for Corey? You said Dillashaw probably gets the next title shot, which I 100% agree with you, but where do you think Corey goes from here?
Well, like, it was a really close fight. I think he's honestly not far off from a title shot still. If he could win another 1 or 2 against the top ranked guys. Like, he's probably, do you know where he's ranked now?
So going into this fight, obviously we had Aljamain with the belt. We had Petr Yan as #1 contender. And then we had Corey Sandhagen ranked 3rd, followed by Rob Font, and then I believe it's Cody Garbrandt at number 5. So following the fight, TJ just slots right into Corey Sandhagen's spot at number 2, and they all move back. So now Corey's at number 4.
Okay. Honestly, what makes the most sense to me is TJ obviously fights the winner of Aljamain and Petr, and I think Corey could fight the loser.
Do you think so?
Yeah. Or maybe even Rob Font. He just beat Cody. He could fight either Cody or Font, to be honest. A Garbrandt fight might be cool.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
That makes sense to me. And honestly, I mean, that freaking weight class is so stacked. I'd be happy to see him fight like any of those guys. But, yeah, I mean, it's interesting if he fights the loser that title fight, because his last loss prior to this was actually against Aljo in like a first round submission by Aljamain Sterling. But I feel like we're gonna get that Rob Font fight next probably. It makes sense, right? Like, Rob Font was calling for a title shot, and I mean, like, he dominated Cody Garbrandt so much. If this division wasn't so stacked, he's probably getting it after those guys. But Yeah, no, I want to see Corey against Rob Font.
Yeah,
That's my pick.
I know Corey was saying he wanted to get the Aljo fight back because I guess he lost that one in a submission. And that's his, other than TJ, that was the only loss on his record, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. Recently, yeah.
Yeah, recently anyway. I haven't even looked at his record, but he was saying that anyway, so he wants to get that one back, and that would be a good fight.
Yeah.
I think he'd beat him again, to be honest, if it wasn't, like, I guess it ended up on the ground and he got submitted, but...
You think Aljamain beats him?
No, Sandhagen, man. I think Sandhagen's one of the best in that division, to be honest.
I think so, too. I mean, if you can hang in there with TJ Dillashaw, and he looked... I mean, obviously, TJ went through a lot that fight, but he looked in peak form, and Corey was right in that fight.